Buddy. Yes,
here we are.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining us on the weekly episode 4. We are back from a week hiatus. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, I have a usual host. We have no lower third, so please remember the names and definitely subscribe to every single channel. I have the links for you in the description. Starting off with Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Let's do this.
All right. Next up is the one and only Mr. Juan Carlos Bagnell.
Sí, está aquí. I've got some coffee. I think I'm ready to talk about
Juan's talking Spanish. Hold on. That's a new thing.
That's like way more racist than my terrible accent. Then
that's new. That hasn't been done on this hangout before.
Have you? maybe. But yeah, he's his channel is Some Gadget Guy, and finally the one and only Black Iron _ Man, who might be changing his name to something else. Mbaku, maybe. Who knows?
No.
All right, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off. I don't have a uselessness, but I have we have something that's very interesting. The chairman of the FCC, Ajit Pais, is under investigation.
Well, what do you know?
Yeah.
Not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
Just not gonna go anywhere.
Wow, already Sam is putting a clamp on it, so please do elaborate, Sam. On this
investigation. No, he's under investigation for working too closely with Sinclair Broadcasting to basically, everything just ended for me. Can you guys still hear me?
You can hear. You can just keep talking.
All right, so he's under investigation, and the whole idea is he worked too closely with Sinclair, with Sinclair Broadcasting on some kind of bid or something. And yeah, he's gonna get away with it. It's not as though it's it's oh my God, he's under investigation for colluding with all these ISPs to make sure that we don't have net neutrality. Nah, which is the bigger crime in my book. But yeah, he worked too closely with them. So yeah, boo-hoo, too closely. Yeah, he's going to say, oh, it was a mistake, throw some lawyer terms in there, and he'll get away scot-free. No one ever gets dinged for stuff like this unless they have proof that it was pay for play. So, nah, I'm not too...
Even with proof of pay to play, it would be on this administration to actually execute.
Do something.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this is also why... sort of the political climate might change 2018. If we see any kind of traction in some of the races that are coming down, and we see any type of climate change in the House and the Senate, then this is one of those things that looks really bad for regulatory agencies that are working with the very industries that they're trying to regulate. This isn't necessarily just an Ajit Pais thing. This is like the EPA trying to gut our natural resources in our state.
The EPA is run by someone who sued the EPA the most amount of times out of anyone else.
Right. Okay? But this is exactly the kind of sea change that could potentially happen across all of these problems with regulatory capture. Ajit Pais is probably the one that we're going to be paying the most attention to over some of his terrible policy. But this is one, sort of worth looking into if you're kind of into media matters, because it's not just like, oh, he was kind of working with Sinclair. He's kind of working with Sinclair to the tune of a multi-billion-dollar deal. If we're concerned about media diversity, if we're concerned about content creation, if we're concerned about distribution, we should definitely be concerned about too many media outlets being under the ownership of one mega company. And, that's also where back in the day we used to have people who would break up these sort of antitrust or monopolistic business practices. I doubt we'll get back to that anytime soon, but at least joining the conversation should make them afraid enough to not be too jerky with the content that we consume.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Warren?
No. G-Pie is a D-bag, so what else? They'll find... listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. They'll investigate this, and probably something else will turn up, and something else will turn up after that. And then he'll be at the stake, and he'll resign. Whatever crap he'll pull off. That's how it works.
He'll want to spend more time with his family.
And his stupid Reese's cup.
Oh God, that Reese's cup.
I was gonna say, as far as I know, that is his family. So
oh,
I was just saying, it wasn't like a burn. He's the one that's out there, like, oh, I love my Reese's cup. It's oversized and comically absurd.
Yep.
That's my edgy pie impersonation right there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I kind of do agree with you that nothing will necessarily come of this, just because we know how these things go. And right now, just in terms of the national consensus, people are not concerned about this right now. There's so many other things that are happening. You know, sadly, we had that shooting this week in Florida. The other things that are happening. There's a Russian probe. I mean, it's like a hot mess out there. You know, so when it comes to the tech things we love, or at least people who are managing that, it becomes further back in people's minds until something major comes up. But you're definitely right, Juan, that you know, come 2018, this year, November elections, we might see that sea change, because, you know, if it just continues this way with a lot of things, people just
all signs are pointing to it right now that it's going to be a wave of a change happening. I don't know how intense it'll be, but
change is coming.
It's coming.
Well, it's also on people who want to see some sort of shift in leadership. You know, we can't take it for granted. You know, that's definitely something where you need to be encouraging the people around you to actually participate, because I think this year's show has shown us you get what you vote for. You know, like that actually does matter. As many people will claim they're both co-opted, both parties have problems. This isn't, you know,
your vote doesn't matter. Blah blah.
Your vote doesn't matter.
Blah, I mean, especially this year. I mean, not even just doesn't matter, but it's particular because you're voting for. It's a lot of, you know, Senate and Congress seats, you know, going up. So that pertains to your state, you know. And if you want to see a change, if you want to put that person who will go out there and fight for you and say, hey, you know what, please do not take away my internet. Hey, we need gun control. Hey, whatever the issue it is, you can actually make that change. So don't let anyone fool you and say, just because you live in a red or blue state, particular changes can't happen. I mean, there is.
Especially look what happened in Alabama.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very surprising one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, all right, cool. Moving on from Ajit Pai and his investigation, which we believe might not go anywhere. Federal spy agencies, all of them, basically, I would say, have put the nail on the coffin for Huawei Mobile in the US. The FBI, CIA, and NSA are concerned about undetected espionage and information theft on Huawei devices.
And not OnePlus. And not OnePlus. We're gonna target Huawei, but not the actual company that's actually been proven that this stuff's happened to. Oh,
well, I think Warren has already jumped to my killer argument as to why I'm not super.
There is no other argument with this.
So here's the deal. This is what I don't believe we'll ever get. But what would require me to take this advisory under consideration would be any kind of evidence, any evidence that they could point to that we could show that the consumer arms, not Huawei as a telecommunications infrastructure specialist, not ZTE as a company that's stringing up 5G and building cell towers, but the consumer arms of ZTE and Huawei are acting in bad faith with our data. We can untangle packet information really quickly when we think there's a there. We've done it with Lenovo. We've done it with OnePlus. We've done it with numerous other companies that have not handled our personal information with the due diligence we think that information should be treated with. So until we see some kind of evidence that Huawei is acting with the same cavalier attitudes or is operating in bad faith, then the only thing I can believe is that this is a punitive measure from the United States government being executed by law enforcement agencies in the United States to try and give an American industry an edge when it comes to North American 5G infrastructure.
Yeah. Since nobody else piggybacked on that one.
I'm trying to understand basically why we're not a little bit more alarmed by this, because I'm pretty much alarmed by this. It's the whole idea that Huawei has, or a lot of these Asian companies have ties to their governments, right? And but we know definitely that there are some Asian countries that take it very seriously, this separation between government and corporations, and even goes far enough to basically kick out their presidents because of perceived wrongdoings when it comes to pay to play.
I'm just to let you know, he's out of jail right now. Samsung.
No, that's not. I'm saying the country kicked out their president because of something like this.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
So when we look at a company whose one of its biggest ties to the to the Chinese government is that it has actually one of their chief engineers tied directly to the government. It raises questions. It raises questions when in 2014 T-Mobile is suing this company saying you actually stole testing methodology and testing technology from us. I think it's worth looking at. We're at an age right now where we're talking about Russian interference in the U.S. elections. We're at an age where technology and espionage go hand in hand. So we need to understand exactly what these companies are doing. Right now, we're saying, oh, look at the social medias of the world. That's what Russia is using to attack us. Our phones are what we use to connect to these portals, right? So if we're using this consumer tech to connect to these portals, I think it's 10 times more important for us to understand what the CIA, the FBI, and like 4 other intelligence agencies are saying. And I don't think this is just the US government trying to play some kind of, economic warfare with someone else. This is our intelligence agency, even though we have an administration right now that we don't 100% agree with. These agencies have stood up for what they believe is actually happening. These agencies have stood up and always said that Russia interfered. These agencies still have what I would say, they still have clout. They still have, my trust when it comes to defending the United States. So I take this a little serious.
I don't disagree that we should be taking claims seriously. How do we take a claim seriously, Sam?
Yeah, we go through it and verify exactly what they're saying.
We examine the evidence.
Yeah.
So I can tell you right now that there's a magic pink unicorn under your chair that's going to gore you in the ass. Like, okay,
you know what? That is a fear of mine.
Why did you look
on my fear? Stop playing on my fear, Juan. Stop playing on my fear. Okay.
First of all, Thunder Reed looked under his chair. Let's not pass that.
If you were to tell me something crazy, I have a relationship with you and I respect you, so I'm going to at least go with you to a point. But after that point, I'm going to demand some kind of evidence if I'm going to change my behavior. You're absolutely right. There is something we should be taking seriously about law enforcement making these claims. So what do we do when we take claims seriously? We investigate the evidence. And that's exactly what I don't believe we're ever going to get in this current political climate. What is the evidence that they can point to that the consumer divisions of these companies are acting in bad faith with our data? Because we can also examine the behavior of these devices to see what information is leaving, what information is being stored, and where does it go. And as far as I know, I haven't seen anything yet that makes me question the operation of these devices in the consumer space any more than I'm already tinfoil hat wearing paranoid about every interaction that I participate in being tracked to some degree.
No, and I agree with you. What I'm saying is we should take this seriously. We should take this seriously enough to make sure that we push people to do the investigation. We should take it seriously enough that we're a little bit more cautious about what we share when on these devices.
That I completely agree with. But again, it comes down to how, when, where, and why are we undergoing this examination of behavior? And until law enforcement speaks up for themselves as to why they're engaging in this targeting, they're not singling out Oppo. They're not singling out OnePlus. OnePlus, we know we've seen actual violations of consumer data, but Oppo doesn't invest in infrastructure like Huawei and ZTE do. Oppo just sells phones. So apparently that's fine. It's fine if the company that just sells a phone is cavalier with your data. You know, Blue and Vivo, we've all gone through these issues with data problems. OnePlus, their entire credit card infrastructure was compromised. Yeah. But that's fine because Oppo doesn't build towers. Now suddenly, with no evidence that they can point to on the consumer side of the devices, We've seen them get in the way of mergers and deals and carrier exclusivity programs, AT&T and Verizon. We've seen them wedge in. Where's the there? So the only smoke that's being generated right now is from law enforcement. There's no other smoke coming from the tech community. What is the fire? Show me the fire, and I will happily go down that road and say, like, consumers, beware. Until we get that data, I'm gonna say that I don't see any significant threat outside of how we normally interact and use our digital devices.
No, well, I get what you. Seriously, I see where you're coming from, but I'm also coming from the standpoint that we have seen governments, even the U.S. government, express an interest in using these towers, in using consumer electronics, in having backdoors into consumer electronics. So if the CIA, FBI, NSA, all these three-letter intelligence agencies are coming out and saying you shouldn't really trust a device coming from China, and we already know that we've had incidents where China has used some kind of technological warfare in this weird kind of, I would call it even maybe blue warfare that everyone's having, with an electronic warfare between Russia, China, the United States, UK, and whoever else. We need to understand that if the CIA is saying it's recommending not to use these devices, yes, we need to have proof, but I would say we need to be a little bit more cautious and then start asking questions ourselves as consumers. Like, are these products safe? How can we ensure these products are safe? Not saying, oh, show me evidence first, then I will start treating these
Sam, what is the threat? What is the threat? How do we know what the threat is if we can't examine evidence? Again, there's a magic unicorn under your chair. It's going to gore you in the ass. Give me $1 million. Don't look. I can't give you any evidence. But don't look.
Just to say, literally, what Sam is doing is literally how basically Trump runs his campaigns.
Seriously?
No, I'm sorry. What? Not Sam. What Juan is doing? Because
what I'm doing facetiously.
Yeah. You see, you made the mistake again twice.
Well, it happened.
How do you keep confusing me and Sam?
The bottom. I'm looking at the bottom over here.
What's your name today? E? You're confusing me and Juan now. Like Juan and Juan.
Sam, this is the second time he's confused.
I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Leave me
Sorry, guys.
We made Warren feel bad. Sorry, Warren.
Warren's like, I'm going to be quiet. My bad, Warren. Please go ahead. Continue.
Well, no, I was just saying that for what Juan is doing in terms of talking about those unicorn things, it's basically how like Trump ran his campaign, making up these things without any actual proof behind it, just saying, we make this claim with pseudo little bits and pieces that could make it possibly true, but no factual evidence that says, yes, this company has done this before. It's just Huawei and it's China, and it's just really easy just to nail them for it. Instead of really going after the companies that have been proven that they have been haphazard with our data. We were not going after them. And those are the ones we should be going after.
Yeah, I mean, true. The question I want to ask is kind of back to the main topic of, does this put the final nail in the coffin for Huawei in the US? Because, there was the AT&T deal. They were trying to do a backdoor deal with Verizon so that at least Verizon will sell devices, not necessarily market it. And that also, Verizon said, I'm sorry, we can't do that. And now, when all the federal spy agencies are saying, nope, don't buy it, that's a Chinese spy in your house. Does this end the push, or does it limit it?
End for Huawei. I think they still are looking at North America as being too lucrative an opportunity to just give up. Mm-hmm. I very much believe what we'll see is a renewed pressure on unlocked strategies, trying to build a firsthand relationship with consumers. And I'll be curious to see if this advisory impacts behavior on outlets like Amazon, web retailers. Mm-hmm. If they still sell Huawei phones, isn't that going against the advisory of North American law enforcement? What about Target? Are we suddenly going to see Honor devices evaporate from store shelves there? So that will be the longer term play. What do we see Huawei do in response to this? Especially because the first thing out of the gate in terms of Huawei for brand optics was that stupid Best Buy shenanigan that they pulled off, which they should be hammered for.
Yes. Oh, thank you for
fake reviews.
The,
But in terms of the sales, just to wrap up the point, in terms of the sales, what we need to see them do now is, unfortunately, justify their existence. Why are they trying to do business in North America? What kind of relationship can they build with consumers? And can they offer a better solution than competitors at a similar price? If Huawei can answer those questions, then they'll be fine. If they can't, then unfortunately we'll lose out on the world's third largest manufacturer operating in the United States.
I think it's a temporary stop to eventually I think this will all be fixed probably in a year time, that the next year they'll be able to come out and probably make that better push. If anything, as they prove their worth, they prove who they are as a brand, and that they are here just to sell phones and just compete with the rest of the other manufacturers out here who are also not from the United States, also selling phones here, that they're just trying to do the same thing that those companies are doing. I think in the end of the day, this might end up being a way that propels their name forward more so than pulling them back.
Okay.
Because think about this now. Huawei is a known name, but Huawei's name has never been mentioned this much until a whole bunch of this stuff started going down. So the more that name gets mentioned, the more people are going to be curious about what that brand is and what they offer. And the more people see that that from the looks of it, from what we know, they're an honest company just trying to sell products and compete in the U.S. market just like everyone else is, the better that's going to do for them. And basically, they'd have gotten free advertising from the government.
Yeah. So what Warren is saying is time for spin doctors.
Probably. I think this could end up in certain ways. Yeah, this could be a, God, I hate using this term. This could be a Nuttenburger, which would be fine. You can go out, you can buy a Huawei phone, and that'll be fine. Or this could just force Huawei to dissociate itself a little bit more from the Chinese government, to basically say, hey, look, we're an independent company. We don't have government influence. We want to basically show you that Chinese government does not influence the way we do business. I'm less afraid of saying on a daily basis Huawei is mining my data. I am more afraid of a foreign government, having a hand in a company that has so much hardware, telecommunications hardware around the world, that could flip a switch and gain access to all that information. That's what I'm more worried about. I'm more worried about it when the US does it. I'm more worried about it when China does it, when Russia does it, when any sovereign nation does this. It worries me. The potential to basically mine the information of consumers, because you can mine the information of consumers, you can control the habits of consumers and individuals, and that scares the hell out of me. That's why I take this very seriously.
So what's funny is one of the best cynical responses that I caught on a Reddit post tracking the story was, well, law enforcement's just probably pissed with Huawei because they use their own chipset, so they can't build in the backdoors as easily as when they work with Qualcomm.
Exactly.
So, maybe they're mad so that Huawei phones are actually better secured than Qualcomm.
Maybe they just can't use Huawei stuff to do whatever, and the Chinese government can do it, or maybe no one can, and that's why they're pissed off. But I'm like, I agree with you. We need to know more about this. But I say this is something I would say, hey, put a Vice squad on. I mean, a Vice News apparatus or a Vice News anchor on there and investigate it. Put someone from CNBC, put someone from CNN. Let's get these guys to actually investigate this and see, is there anything there?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting here from the chat here from Fat Pro. He says maybe that's why they launched the Honor brand to help detract from the baggage now with the Huawei name. The brand's been around for a while,
yeah.
But it's an opportunity to actually push that brand more.
That was more of a two-headed strategy of being able to offer high-end phones on one end, compete with the bigger boys, and then to be able to compete in the mid-range. That's why the Honor brand.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying that
for them out there.
But now it's an opportunity to push that brand for a little bit while Huawei, the name, takes a hit, and the Honor brand is still not necessarily associated with Huawei. Is considered its own thing, and they could do that push for a while until the Nuttenburger basically goes away. Moving on to our next topic, Windows has an ultimate performance mode. Yay!
Only for a certain version, though.
Yeah.
Only for that you won't buy.
I mean, that's expected from Windows. Okay,
these days.
Moving on. So there.
Well, it's on.
Yeah.
Well, we could at least say a little more to it. You have to have. Can we say what version? You have to get Windows 10 Pro for workstations, and that's actually the name of it. Windows 10 Pro for workstations will have that feature. None of the others will.
Yeah, that's just not even cool. Workstation. I don't want to have workstation.
Something tells me you read that link a little bit after you sent it and saw
No,
that.
I read it. I read it.
It just got deflated. Some just that sentence like, "Oh, sweet." Oh.
No. You know when it happened? What happened was I copy pasted it before I even sent it to you guys. I read everything. I was like, "Oh yeah, Windows 10," and send anyway.
That is sad. So sad.
All right, moving on to LG. Da-da-da. Evan Blass, our favorite leaker, has leaked out the next LG flagship phone, which will not be called the G anymore. It'll be called something new. Its project name is called Judy. They're looking at a June release date, which is sort of lining up with the either April or May announcements that we've been hearing for this device. They're saying early June. Will be powered by a Snapdragon 845 chipset. We're paired with 4 gigs of RAM. Some people might be sad. Some people might want 6, 8, 9, 10, 24 gigs, but it's 4 gigs of RAM so far.
24.
64 gigabytes of internal storage. Though a Plus or S model will launch with more, say 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes. Judy will have HDR10 capabilities, so most likely HDR10 recording, which 845 Snapdragon supports, and it looks like every Snapdragon 845 device will probably have that. 18:9 aspect ratio touchscreen with the 800 nit brightness display. It is LG's new MLCD Plus. MLCD Plus, not OLED, which is what they did with the V30. So,
but isn't one of the rumors? No, isn't one of the rumors though that LG is going to be working on a white pixel LCD screen? Isn't?
Yeah, maybe. But that most likely will be for the end of the year with the Pixel 3 or whatever devices that pick up that one. This new display happens to consume 35% less power than IPS display. Will employ RGBW subpixel matrix, with the W standing for white. So, and of course, it will have 2 cameras, 16 megapixel sensors, f-stop 1.6 on both lenses, water resistance, dust resistance, along with military standard durability settings, and we'll have stereo speakers. No word of headphone jack, so I'm already like just crying inside. So anyway, guys, thoughts on the LG Judy? I sense excitement.
June.
I mean, you know, he's giving us pretty much a breakdown of everything in the device, minus what specific features it will do. It sounds
interesting to see what the HDR10 means for this phone, really. Like how color correct that's going to be. It's going to be very interesting.
It's based off 845, according to what Qualcomm says. It does full 2020 color gambit. So it basically, you're recording HDR, as far as they're concerned, you're recording the same HDR10 that you can showcase on your HDR10 TV.
That's impressive, because I know even with the 835, the instances when you do record in record in 1080, you try to throw that HDR on there and you put it on your screen and it's like not quite what I expected.
Yeah, 835 is not capable. They said they have a new DSP. They actually rebuilt it just to do 4K HDR recording properly. Okay. I guess they could have gimmicked it in 835, but you just don't want to get the right kind of quality. You might get
just in terms of like iteration and what we've been talking about, some of the issues facing LG. If this becomes part of a one phone strategy for their flagship line, and we're getting these out dads and grad season, summer, they healthily undercut iPhone and Note launches by a couple months, and that they can focus on keeping their product lines focused and delivering better support, then this could be a good step. Why try and rush to the beginning of the year, fight Samsung, all the noise they're going to make at MWC, Huawei completely walking away from that conversation, doing their own event in March.
Yeah.
Let that settle down for a couple months and then come back and actually show us that this is a company that can focus and iterate. If they can pull that off, then I've got a little hope for LG, but LG is starting to occupy the same space Microsoft did, where I have a little hope and then they don't really execute on something that fulfills the hope that I had for them. That's what I'm always nervous about with an LG announcement.
I mean, but the thing with LG, as we know quite well, it's not really the hope. It's not really the pushback. LG can select any month in the year and the month in the future and the month that doesn't exist, like, the 14th month of the year. But it doesn't matter if they don't advertise or market their stuff properly and launch at a reasonable time. So, them moving away is fine from the hustle and bustle of everyone's big announcements. But we know quite well that LG doesn't release its devices on time. They need to fix that. They don't market it properly or even just make noise.
And also, I think it's becoming a bigger part of the conversation with Google as a first-party Android manufacturer is support. We need to see a company like LG making the claim they're a top-tier manufacturer, that they can charge a premium on their products too, delivering better support than many of their competitors. I mean, Samsung's in the same boat for me also, but Samsung doesn't have all of the other issues with product launch strategies and with advertising. I want to see these companies step up and do better in an era where they have resources like Project Treble. There should be no excuse in 2018 for releasing a $700, $800, $900 phone and not giving me timely bug fixes, not giving me patches, and not giving me 0.1 and major Android operating system updates. We need to do better there. And LG, I think, is emblematic of that problem as much as any other company.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Sam, Warren, Sam.
I don't know. I just want to see them prove themselves. Like, they put the phone out, they get it out there, they get the marketing behind it, and they get people excited about it. It's so hard to be excited for an LG phone, especially in the last 3 years or so, of just being the same. Well, we put it out there, but
it's like they don't have any faith in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very Sony-esque in the way they release stuff.
It is
very Sony-esque, and that's not a good thing to have, honestly. You got to really, like, LG makes better. Like, the difference is LG makes quite a bit better phones than Sony does. And would just be nice to see LG just go forward and be that competition of what they were, and then when they were really trying to go head to head against Samsung, when they were really trying to force that, instead of just like, well, we kind of got close, but then we just sort of got this period where we decided to give up, which I think was disappointing.
And then I got this arrow and I just couldn't anymore.
It's just like they just gave up, and I want to see them kind of get back into the loop. Even with HTC is dwindling as they were doing, they would still somewhat try to put up some type of fight against the other guys out there. They just didn't. They weren't coming with really, in my opinion, they weren't really coming with very quality ideas compared to the ideas that LG was having. But HTC at least had better marketing to try and push maybe not the best idea out there. And
HTC, if you mentioned them, right? The last one they announced last year, which nobody saw released, and the few people who did all said the same thing. This is what the Pixel 2 XL should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, that's throwing out a phone so late. Look, these companies just need to be smart. As much as we poo-pooed OnePlus, right? OnePlus has solidified what they do well. They come out, they hype, and they release. And they as much as OnePlus has other issues, when it comes to announcing, hyping up, and releasing devices, and then continue that release with color models. Even when they just released the lava red and the whites, I mean, like, everyone is talking about it. Think about it. That's a small company, and they released the lava red because, of course, it's closer towards Chinese New Year, But they release it. Everyone's like, "Ooh, man, that looks good." You send it out to a bunch of people. Release the white right before the Olympics. Everybody's like, "Ooh, that looks dope." Again, just do your marketing right.
Red phone. We've never seen that before.
No, but that's a company who's doing something simple that they know that people like colors, and they just do it right. And it's not OnePlus is proving that it's not that hard. There are a lot of things that they do wrong, But
Really?
with their,
You think?
no, but I'm just saying with their announcement, launch, release strategy, which is the most important part if you want to sell products, they do that all right. And they've learned from their mistakes. They've learned from the early mistakes they had, with their was it the ticket strategy and the invites and all that stuff. So I don't know why companies like LG or HTC can't look at that and say, okay, we're going to build something. We pick a time of the year when we're not fighting with everybody else. We announce and we release, and then we hype. It's all a hype game. It's all about hype.
Well, and I will say that I'm hopeful. Again, LG has wrecked my hope in the past, but I'm hopeful to see LG starting to change some of their company identity. I mean, like they have ads on the Olympics for the V30. Like they're trying to join the conversation.
Oh, they better. I mean, they're little brother, but they have to.
Well, but that's just it. It's like they haven't advertised like for anything, and they actually have commercials, which I don't think they're the best, but they're aspirational. Yeah. They match the tone of the event that they're advertising on, and they actually show the product instead of Joseph Gordon-Levitt dancing in a subway. That's a big step for LG. Normally, as soon as a phone is released, like they just evaporate from the advertising market and they just disappear. The fact that they're rejoining the conversation is a significant step, not a huge step, but a significant step in the right direction for a company that. See,
I disagree. Really I don't consider that a significant step. It's your home turf. If you just don't do it, you're an idiot. You're just supposed to do it.
Well, we would expect that they would be advertising on their home turf, like Olympic broadcasts in South Korea. The fact that I'm seeing these commercials on NBC, it's not going to fix all their problems, but that's a big step in the right direction for a company that usually abandons the discussion of their products weeks after that product is launched. They bought ad time on NBC to talk about their phones, and they're actually up there with Apple and Samsung in terms of trying to generate some mind share on one of the most watched broadcasts in North America. That, I mean, I have to give them a thumbs up for that. Now I want to see them continue and put that marketing on like sitcoms and put that marketing on, normal broadcasts instead of just walking away and ceding all of the advertising discussion to their competitors.
Well, true. All right, let's move away from LG before we get into deep bashing territory and move to our final topic of the day. This miner in New York, the mining operation was interfering with T-Mobile's network, FCC said. A New York resident was ordered to turn off his Bitcoin miner after the Federal Communications Commission discovered that it was interfering with T-Mobile's wireless network. After receiving a complaint from T-Mobile about interference to its 700 megahertz LTE network in Brooklyn, it wasn't me, New York FCC agent in November 2017, maybe it's Sam though, determined that the radio emission.
Me. Why are you trying to put me in the hook?
Tell Sam the whole time.
Damn it, Sam.
So you know that time in November when Sam like really wasn't on the show.
Oh, now we're just getting on me.
Damn it, Sam.
That the radio emissions in the 700 bandwidth were coming from the residence of a man named Victor Rosario. They even put his name out there. So Victor was busy trying to mine and rack up those Bitcoins. And his mining rig, his anti-miner S5 Bitcoin miner was interfering with that. Just any thoughts on this? This interesting story. I just find it funny. Like they still haven't found out exactly how it was emitting, counter frequencies to jam up the 700 megahertz range, which, granted, is lower, but they still haven't stated exactly how or where. But they figured it was him.
So he was blocking it for his whole neighborhood, or he was blocking it for the entire state of New York, like.
I mean, it was probably for his whole neighborhood because, probably for the neighborhood because the 700 megahertz it's just like how it's a lower frequency. So those are usually on top of like buildings and
the whole idea it penetrates.
Yeah, it's not a tower. It's basically any of the antennas you see around in your neighborhoods are really pushing those 700s. So whatever he was doing was messing at least some neighborhood with maybe a business or something that was.
What hipsters did he piss off?
Huh?
What hipsters did he piss off?
Yeah, probably.
Let's be real here. What hipsters did they piss off that they decided to take action in a protest and made a change.org thing? And what, like, who did that?
Wow.
Let's be real here.
You went deep on that one, man. They went to change.org.
So if you're looking to pick up the Antiminer S5, it's available on Amazon for $600. You can do you some lucrative mining, or also, I mean, if you want to be a villain, you can jam frequencies.
So what did they think? He was opening up portal to the new world, and Chikari was just gonna come through with some shit like that? Like, what are they thinking?
Look, I don't know. All I know is that T-Mobile. Look, if it was that bad, I don't know how many mining units this dude was using. That T-Mobile was like, you know,
in New York, the power draw. Do you know how much power costs in New York?
Yeah. No. So, okay. First of all, Victor, like I know people. I have friends in New York who mine. And they mine in their families' homes in like
Midwest somewhere,
Nebraska.
Yeah, way out where the power is cheaper. You don't want to be mining anywhere in the East Coast between Maine and New York. F that.
No.
You know what the bill is like?
I mean, he must have been. I mean, he must have been lucrative. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that maybe it was worthwhile for him. And
I mean, the hashes might have been pretty high. It might have been high for him to do it.
But it to me just means that he was using a lot to really get, because if people were complaining to T-Mobile would just tell you things are down, and you know, whatever, like just a few people. But if everyone in the neighborhood was complaining,
everyone were down.
They very came
I can't post to Instagram.
Oh, Ronald Collins mentioned that 700 megahertz is also what some of the public safety users are on. Okay, so that makes more sense. This makes more sense. It's why it would be a little bit scary if you have your first responders and you have, having interference. Okay, yeah, then it becomes like, yeah, okay, good. The FBI needs to shut this kind of stuff down.
Yeah, now that makes more sense.
If that's the case, then yes, that's actually kind of very serious.
Thank you for that bit of info, Ronald. Didn't know that. We just thought he was just trying to be a bad guy and an evil villain, and
I thought hipsters complained.
Create a wormhole to a different dimension, you know, that kind of stuff.
Which, I mean, all of that still could be true, though.
Yeah. So, isn't that the latest thing in sci-fi, right? It's now all about alternate realities and dimensions. Granted, you know, it's been there for a while. I'm just saying, like, sci-fi TV show.
Well, it's just another way to call something time travel. It's just another time travel mechanic. It does the same exact thing.
Oh, okay.
And the new retcon.
Yeah. So since we don't have anything else in the day, I want to actually say this because we've all read Ready Player One.
Correct.
The movie's coming out, and I watched the last trailer. So let me just tell you guys right now, this movie is a pure adaptation, which means it's not going to be like the book in many
ways.
Yeah.
Well, we sort of got
no. You don't understand. Like when you see the trailer, you will go, but that scene is like it's a change.
Yeah.
The book packs a lot of stuff in there. There's no way.
No, okay. I'm not trying to spoil it. That's why I'm not telling you exactly what I saw. I'm telling you this. It's not about.
Damn it, Sam.
It's not about cutting down or compressing. They
changed a lot of shit. They changed a lot of shit.
No. Change as in we didn't, look, there's a difference. Lord of the Rings is an adaptation that cut a lot down. Let's call it what it is, right? This is not that. This is Ready Player One. We have the characters, and then a lot of the setup that you think that may be compressed or cut is just rewritten as something else.
Oh yeah, no, they changed it. I saw a few things in the trailer where I was like, oh, okay, so they have to do more things in the real world. That's all right. I'm like, I'm forgiving. I can forgive.
I mean, the hilarious. Like, what did I say from the first pre-trailer that we got?
Should have been in TV show.
When I straight saw the scene,
I will flip
I was like,
my shit if they don't do the Rush scene with the guitar I will flip my
It's
shit.
not going to be in there.
Oh
Not gonna
man.
be in
No,
there.
I can almost guarantee
man.
from what I've seen.
That is the penultimate part of the book.
I don't want. I'm gonna try and not spoil, but I was already kind of worried about this movie when we basically saw the ending scene in the freaking pre-trailer. And if you read the book, you saw that scene and you were like, "What the?" I was like, "This is gonna kind of go all downhill from here. This isn't where it should be." They've done better trailers in terms of promoting and telling what the actual freaking world is about, because they didn't do that for about a good 3 trailers to tell people what was going down. But and they already changed a lot from looks of characters and.
Okay, look, you know the final fight, right? The final.
I know that.
Fight.
I already know that. I already know.
Yeah,
I got that tip long ago.
They changed that completely.
I heard that got changed completely. Yeah, I got that tip
maybe it's better.
long ago.
It's a Spielberg movie. Maybe it's better.
No, it'll be well done. It'll be a well done movie.
It'll be well done, but better is a pretty tall subjective hill to climb.
Listen, when
Overwatch so highly of the book, I like that. I know that, I personally love the book. I don't think you can ruin the book.
No, one of the major
Overwatch characters showing up in this thing, and they didn't even.
They're trying to make it relevant to the kids, man.
No,
the book. It's not supposed to be.
Okay.
The whole thing.
I'm okay with Overwatch showing up in the book if that's not a major talking point for this character. Because it's not relevant to this character, but it would be relevant to the world of people that have been consuming different types of media for generations past us. Overwatch would still probably be a retro part of the conversation for those characters. I just feel you have to compromise so much of this story if you make this one film. There is a beautiful halfway point in this book where you could have made 2 movies. And I'm really shocked that they didn't. I mean, I'm happy they're not trying to make this a franchise, but I'm really shocked they didn't try and go for the money grab on making this a 2-piece story or a trilogy.
They could easily make it a trilogy.
Netflix, if you're hearing this,
they can make it a trilogy because enough of what happens in the first act or so is enough for one movie, and then they could stretch it into that thing because there's ways to pull it off. The third movie would be a little bit weaker. It would turn into what Catching Fire, like whatever that last Hunger Games part 2 of that. It would turn into that. But it would but that second half still wrapped up a whole lot of stuff. That ended up being very good.
The reason why I say 2 instead of a trilogy is the book really does seem to you have the magical exposition of the beginning of the story to get people into the world, and then the completion of the first quest is a perfect stopping point.
Because there's a whole year before they get to the second key.
And so then the second half of the book is about him coming back to complete the quest after tasting a little celebrity and a little fame.
Oh, that is.
I think those 2.
Oh my God!
Beautiful bookend.
Oh, you just described such a great movie that's not going to happen.
But let's be realistic.
But why I say there could be 3 and where they could start that at is they could end it at the point where he goes in the building when he's in it.
Oh no!
That is where you can make 3 happen.
Wait.
Start from there.
Okay.
That actually, you're right. That
when he moves out, when he gets
they're cutting a huge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Remember, they're cutting a huge part of that hotel thing out of it.
Yeah.
That whole hotel thing is showing up in the movie.
But I'm just gonna put it out this way. I'm not so disappointed because there's another movie out. I mean, there's another book out there. I am hoping gets the true treatment. Daniel Suarez, like Demon, man. This is basically Demon for kids. All right, I'm sorry. Like Ready Player One is cool. I love the book, but Daniel Suarez's Demon does basically almost about the same thing, but it deals with some real adult content. So I'm like, we still have hope. There's still books out there that tackle the same subject. That we can still kind of geek out on. But this one, I just want to see, dude. For me, this is validation for all the geeks out there who were bullied in high school, who whatever. This is basically a movie saying everything we know is true now, but everything we loved back then, everything we poured our time into back then, and people were like, oh, it's useless, useless, useless. It's worth something, okay? It makes us feel good, and it might end us $1 million one day when we do some kind of chocolate factory, whatever, golden ticket, whatever. Okay, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I mean, like the geek should inherit the earth. I mean, we were on the
already
new
kind of doing that,
and Trisha and I were like kind of joking about it because they wanted us to do a segment on like how did we get into gaming, and we were telling our stories and remembering back all those times. Like, holy crap, I could go back in time to young me and say, oh no, you will make gaming a significant part of your living as an adult. Like, play these games, be good at them, do this well. If you do this well, this will be a part of your livelihood. I mean, that's crazy. And Ready Player One is this beautiful celebration, not only of that, but of the era I grew up in. You know, like coming out of the 80s into the 90s, like all of these different like John Hughes franchises.
Man.
And that style of gaming and arcade.
Super Mario Brothers 3.
Oh yeah.
Literally.
So Juan, I see you guys are doing Altered Carbon. Are you doing the book or are you doing the movie?
Well, that's just it. Is we're gonna be
the
Geek Book Club is gonna be talking about the book, and then we're gonna be relating some of our experiences and watching.
Yeah, never read the book on that one.
I mean, if you guys want somebody who just finished a TV show on, I'll be happy to join you.
Okay.
Because that reminds me of my favorite book series. Thank you very much, Sam. Commonwealth Saga.
Commonwealth Saga. Oh God, man, dude, that's an epic series. If they ever make that into a TV show,
it has to be a TV show.
Oh man, no, it has to be HBO that does something like that, man.
Yeah,
it's like Game of Thrones in space.
Yeah. No, now that I'm thinking more about this and the way that Netflix did the Get Down. There's a very good way that Ready Player One would have been a very good version of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because it perfectly breaks down specifically the way it goes, and
the music, though. The music was just amazing, man.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Whew. Yeah. Fat Produce. Blade Runner scores. Hans Zimmer. Look, that guy just makes.
We've had this conversation multiple times.
Yeah.
you put Hans Zimmer on anything, and it could be the crappiest movie in the world, but you know you're gonna have some kind of emotional connection.
Instantly legitimate as a work of art.
I know, right?
It's like, did you see that time when Jar Jar Binks jumped out of the hole and said, "Hello, it's me again"? The music, just the music, made.
I teared up. I can't lie. I mean,
and then later on, you're like, okay, Jar Jar sucked, but that music though.
The music
really hit
Maybe
me.
I understood that. Why? I'm not a Star Wars fiend. I know who Jar Jar Binks is. Why did everybody hate him though? Like I didn't understand the hate.
Oh boy,
Misa Jar Jar.
Oh boy. I'll put it this way.
The jive talking.
Yeah.
Well, see, let me explain why I didn't notice that. When I watch Star Wars movies, I tone out at a point of that thing, and I just let the thing kind of run until something interesting happens because they're long. There's a lot of filler that I don't really care about, so I just let it just go. And then I go,
I think
so if something happens, I don't notice it.
It's a really interesting cultural evolution in the Star Wars universe. I do believe there was a conversation worth having about the different alien species in Star Wars that seemed to embody racial stereotypes on Earth. Characters that didn't speak an alien language, but instead spoke with accents that could have potentially looked or resembled like real accents on this planet. And Star Wars was never a property that was afraid of making up an alien language. So why was it that we had to have really big almond-shaped eye Trade Federation aliens that spoke vaguely with a Japanese tint to their English? Why do we have big floppy-eared, almost dreadlock-like wearing aliens that speak in a cartoony Caribbean jive?
You do realize that George Lucas smoked a lot of weed.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
But I don't think
you do realize
that's also kind of like George Lucas saying, like, and I have black friends too, you know? Like, wear someone else's accent and mannerisms as a cartoon costume to make them either comedic or villainous. You know, we didn't used to have that problem. The closest we had in the original Star Wars was if you spoke with a vaguely British accent, you were probably
the bad guy. Yep.
That's it. We're fine making the Brits the bad.
Because who doesn't think a guy who speaks like a college professor should be the bad guy, right?
Well, come on, that's every '80s bad guy. That's the guy that's gonna tear down the arcade, and you got to get the new kid to save him. Like,
or you know, why not go with like someone like what was it? Was it Lethal Weapon 2? Was it the Dutch? Like the Krugerrands and diplomatic immunity before he gets shot. Like every time we stray from the Brits or the Germans or the Russians, the villain is not nearly as good.
Dolph Lundgren made the villainy of the 80s just awesome, man.
It's true. I mean, you've got Hans Gruber, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right.
British and German.
British and German are great villains.
That's the pinnacle of evil in 1980s cinema.
Perfect.
You know, he's absolutely perfect.
Actually, I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. I think the 80s just stereotypes the bad guys were, like, okay, they have funny accents and they talk like they know more than us, so they're bad guys.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I guess that's it for now. We have nothing else to talk about before I start talking about Black Panther. So no, I just I just keep quiet. We'll do a Black Panther spoiler review. Myself, Bored Buddha, anyone else who's seen it want to join. Sam, if you want to. Warren, if you've seen it. I know you haven't seen it yet.
No, not yet. I'll plan to probably, since we have the long weekend, I'll probably pick a day to do it, probably in the morning. I'm one of those ones that likes to go in the theater when nobody else is there.
Oh, people, no. So, this movie is not one where people are not going to show up.
There was 10 a.m. Tickets available, which was shocking because I thought all of them.
I mean, there will be tickets, but by the time you get there, it's probably going to be packed.
Weren't just do reserved seating somewhere, and just so you don't have as much headache getting to your seat. And just enjoy it because there's always going to be people packed up trying to see this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's tracking at 210 million for.
I only have so many places I can go. I can only go to either Lowell's or Fenway. I'll probably go to the Lowell's one because it's actually easier to get to.
Yeah, I know. To take pictures of everybody in outfits, you know.
See, that's appropriating. That's appropriating.
No, dude. It was actually very cool. Like I
gotta say, for all the people making jokes about Zamunda, to see people actually coming and bringing some A game on their outfits for the Black Panther premieres.
That's not appropriate. That's called cosplay.
It's cosplay.
It's called cosplay.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go by the two Africans for judgment on this.
What appropriation, man! I was like, God damn, that's we walked in.
People in the United States have been wearing the shikis and African-esque kind of clothing forever, since like the 50s and the 60s, even before that. So it's not cultural appropriation. It's just, people were trying to really get into it. They were celebrating something that probably hasn't happened in the history of movies, where there are black leads, black supporting character, the black director. It's just the amount of attention being paid to it. It's the amount of attention and the amount of goodwill that a lot of people have to see this movie succeed. And I thought it was actually very endearing.
Yeah.
It's like getting the attention that Coming to America should have gotten.
Really, man?
It's not like Coming to America was like a wallflower film that disappeared. It's something my wife and I watch probably every 6 months.
But I don't think that blew up in the theaters, though.
No, it didn't.
But it survived as one of the all-time greatest comedies of all time.
If I'm
videos and DVDs and stuff like that,
and I need something to just put on, I put on Coming to America because it plays so well.
It's up there with Ghostbusters as being a nearly perfect comedic endeavor.
Oh, never mind. It did do well in the theater. I thought it didn't. It actually did do pretty well. But movies were in theaters longer back then too.
Yeah. I don't feel like Coming to America needs my help. I think Coming to America is doing fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. But anyway, guys, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for
How the hell did
watching.
Rotten Tomatoes give us this film score of 68? Screw those guys.
Nah, okay. So for that Rotten Tomato stuff, there was a campaign even before the movie launched. There was a campaign.
No, I'm talking about Coming to America, not the.
No, okay.
No. I already know about the Black Panther thing.
Black Panther is A+ on
Isn't it the highest scored Marvel film?
It's the highest superhero movie.
Yeah.
So right now it's got the highest rating for any superhero movie out there.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I can't wait. I want to see it because I want to be assured of something that it earns that credit and it isn't something where reviewers are scared of backlash if they decide to not give it. They don't give it that.
So what I've seen from a lot of reviewers they've gone the technical route. I mean, like some people who are trying to look for something. To me, I put it this way to someone. I said, this to me is like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight has technical issues, and it also has fight scene issues because Christopher Nolan cannot shoot.
Which Dark Knight? Which Dark Knight?
The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight.
Which one? Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight? Talking about the one he comes back?
No, just the Dark Knight.
The Bane one.
The Dark Knight. The one with Joker. Yeah, the one with Joker. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Christopher Nolan cannot shoot an action scene to save his life. Somebody else should shoot that for him. But that was a fantastic movie from head to toe. There are some issues here and there. Nothing's ever perfect. To me, Black Panther is that. Like that's the Marvel equivalent of like, there's some things you point out, but when you watch a movie, you go, man, they actually nailed what they said.
That's actually an apt description because I looked at that Batman as not really being a superhero movie, but more of a social kind of commentary from the Joker's point of view. You know, how the Joker would change the story of how he got the scars every single time. So he got like a little bit
more of his story,
in-depth kind of like gets to his mind. Like this guy is not all there. He's like a bad guy who just doesn't have a purpose. He just wants to do crazy stuff. But then you look at this movie, and I think I told you this when we got out the movie. It's like I don't see this movie as a superhero movie. It was just a great movie. It was just a really good movie. It was more of a great movie than it was a superhero movie to me. So it'll be interesting. Like, tell me what you think when you see it, Warren. If you think it works even more as a movie than just a superhero movie.
I mean, from the trailers, I'm not even like from the trailers alone. I'm already not walking into it feeling like this is a superhero movie, which was a good thing. I feel like this is just going to be a good movie in general. We're going to get a new world in Marvel, which I think this is the only other world they've really done outside of going back in time travel. Not another world, but another place at least that's different. Because I think the only two places they've been.
I guess you could say Doctor Strange a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen Doctor Strange yet. I actually forgot that movie existed. Believe it or not, I forgot that movie existed.
That's super racist against sorcerers. I can't even handle.
Especially Sorcerer Supremes. Okay.
But I was gonna say when they explored the world, I'm thinking about like places like they did locations of Wakanda, and then I think mostly everything's been some part of New York, and then the one time they went out to San Francisco for Ant-Man, and that was about it that I can remember from their other worlds. Like they do little dips into Thor's world and stuff like that, but like there isn't a lot of. Everything's been in the same sort of thing.
I think that's why I enjoyed the Ant-Man movie, because the Ant-Man movie was about this guy's really messed up life and him trying to put everything back together. Oh yeah, and he's kind of like a superhero too. Don't forget that whole thing. But yeah, there's a lot of comedy in that movie. That's why I actually like that movie. So let's see. I think you'll enjoy this movie. I think you really will.
All right, cool. There we have it, guys. Join us on Sunday, probably Sunday afternoon. I'll give you guys the time. We'll be doing our spoiler review, myself, Lou Rod, aka Boored, and anyone else wants to join, we'll discuss Black Panther in deep detail. Now we've come to part of the show where we talk.
Well, I need a dashiki.
Yeah, mandatory.
Take pictures too. Take pictures of yourself in the dashiki.
I mean, if I join the show, I'm going to wear a sombrero. So you need to wear a dashiki.
I'm the only regular black guy here, though. I don't have like anything special.
I'm not even going to deal with
you going there now?
Regular black guy?
Really?
Seriously?
I mean, like, we try to end the show, and then you go regular black guy.
Okay, guys.
It's black on black violence.
I'll wear a basketball jersey. I'll get some Jordans. I'll wear a backwards cap.
Let's just end the show.
I just knew they were gonna. I knew that was gonna rile them up.
Anyway, guys, Juan, what do you have on your channel? What can we expect next week?
I'm sorry, but Sex Cup Potatoes goes. The difference between a saucer and a saucer supreme are the tomatoes and sour cream. You nailed it. Let's end the show.
That's it. That's peaked. We're done.
Okay, guys, look, we've got stuff on our channels.
Let's get out of here before we jump the shark. Let's go.
Stuff coming up on my channel. I'm sorry. So I'm going to do. I'm finishing up a showdown between portrait mode photography on smartphones versus an actual interchangeable lens camera system. So that should be out early next week. But Monday, February 19th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the debate of the century is going down on my YouTube channel between one Mr. Enabong Etta and another Mr. Ron Richards from All About Android are going to have it out, and we'll get the final answer on whether the headphone jack should die. So it's going to be a brutal showdown, a battle royale. It's going to be of epic proportions.
How was this a battle?
And no, I'm like, Ron has been extremely outspoken in moving to wireless standards and new cable connections and what that means for the future. I mean, like, he's actually made some pretty salient points as to the utility of a centuries old connection standard. So I think this is going to be a great showdown for those of us who care about high quality audio in the mobile space for the consumer space. And it's going to be structured as a proper debate, where each participant has a time limit to make their point. There's going to be rebuttals, and we will engage in viewer Q&A if we have people watching live. Again, Monday, February 19th, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. It's going down. We're going downtown all the way down to really get to the bottom.
Do I have theme music? Can I come in with like my wrestling theme music?
If you bring the theme music now, what's hilarious?
You're just gonna come in as Superman, aren't you?
I asked you guys for headshots. So right now, one of the teaser images I'm doing just to make sure that you guys give me some good photos. I'm using so far as the teaser, which doesn't look terrible, but
oh man, that photo is
I know.
Were you like college or something?
I went out of my way. I'm not looking at any of your videos.
Please send that to me. I need to meme that. I'm
not looking for anything recent. I'm using something purposely old because I asked you guys to give me some good photos.
Why do you look like you just went on your first
profile?
Why you look like you just went to your first job expo?
I had to do color correction because the flash that you used on your face turned you blue. It's like blue-green. So I had to like put red and magenta back into your skin tone just so that it didn't look completely terrible.
This is literally 6 years ago.
A photo. If you send me a photo, I'll swap it out. And same
are you using GIMP.com? Are you using the GIMP app?
Hells yeah, GIMP's free.
Man, if you all around on Photoshop, show him Canva. Show him Canva. Help.
But
Canva cool.
Yeah, Canva's cool. Canva.com. Yeah.
Canva.com could do this in like 2 minutes and give you way more options, and not look something like whatever. Oh God.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this first image is just my retaliation for you guys not having sent me the photos that I asked for.
I mean, like, dude, I have like current photos right up.
I know you do. Did you know? And you know what I want to do is go and look for them. So I went and looked for your face on the internet, and that was one of the first photos that popped up.
Your face on the internet. Oh, I actually have a good one. I have a good one I can send to you.
Oh, send it my way. Let's do it.
No, you're not sending photo. I mean, what is this?
If Warren gets me a photo before you, I'm gonna have to use Warren's photo. I think it's
export. Too late.
God damn. No. Where is this thing? Where is this? Do this. Damn it.
it.
I love it. But no, seriously, folks, this is going to be a lot of fun. Something I'm hoping to do a bit more on the channel is
sense. God.
I'm like, I'm with you guys. Like, podcasting delivers a really great organic conversation. Collaboration videos often feel just like two people shooting their own video and then stapling pieces together. And there's a midway point that we can do to unravel some of these topics that we want to talk about. And I think the debate structure is the perfect structure to do that. So one, I want to thank you, E, for jumping on board, because I couldn't think of anyone as a better advocate for the headphone jack. And Ron from All About Android has just been, he's been really playfully antagonistic about it, but he brings up some great points about where we should move to in the future. And so I think that's going to be a really fun way to kind of debate the merits of progress. What really is progress? You know, we make a lot of changes, but change for change's sake doesn't necessarily mean we're making things better. So I think this will be a lot of fun, and I hope people will join us, and we'll get some fun chatter and some fun discussion going.
Well, cool. Warren?
Oh, well, I forgot we're doing the video thing. We just went into that tangent.
Well, you have a new channel for next week.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Oh, I have a lot of content coming up, guys. There's so much for me to make up and bring up that I can't even think of it right now. But I do have stuff, so stay tuned, coming up in the near future.
Okay, cool. On my end, I have a video that'll probably go up either I'd say tomorrow morning, showing you how to game on your MacBook Air at 200 frames per second, 1080p gaming on your MacBook Air. So I know that sounds crazy, but you have to check it out. And then we're doing a battle vid between the HomePod and the Sonos One. See which is actually better. Since Sonos says 2 is better than 1, so we're going to compare technically 2 Sonos Ones to 1 HomePod, which is the same price, $349 for 2 Sonos Ones and HomePod. And then we also have our AMD Ryzen plus Vega build. Actually, sorry, that video is going up tomorrow. The 200 FPS video is going up, I think, on Monday. Sorry, I apologize. Which might be the cheapest way to build a PC. I would give you the pricing numbers in the video, but sorry, not all the parts are available in the market, so I can't give you the exact numbers. But this is like sub $500 gaming PC that would do 1080p at decent, frames per second.
Considering the price of graphics cards and RAM right now, that is a good price.
Yeah, without a dedicated GPU. This is just on the APU itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll check it out. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Appreciate it. And also everyone who's listening on the podcast. Guys, if you want to go back and listen, definitely subscribe to the podcast. The link will be in the description of this video. You can listen to, we have 3 episodes up. This is the 4th episode for the year. We'll have 1 more episode next week. I believe Juan will not be with us. Or are you going to MWC, Juan?
No, I'm staying in the United States for this one. I'm sitting it out.
Yeah, so Juan will be here and everybody else will be here. And we will give you our pre-MWC show, what to expect. And also maybe we'll talk about other things that show up during the week. Otherwise, till next week, thank you very much. And always enjoy your entertainment.